Hello, my name is Al-Mosawi. There are many forms of therapy and ways of healing, but one of the ways that I found most useful is known as internal family systems therapy. What does it mean and what does it involve? It's based on the idea that within each one of us are what you can imagine as characters, people inside us, and when we experience an emotion, it's not us experiencing that emotion, it's one of those characters experiencing those emotions and having those expressed. So whenever you're angry, you are not angry. A part of you, that person inside you, is the one that's being angry. And whatever emotion that you are experiencing, whether it's anger, frustration, depression, sadness, joy, you can relate it to one of the parts within you. Why is this so important? The main idea or the main benefit I've gained from this idea is that I compartmentalize emotions and I'm able to identify that within me is more than the emotion that I'm experiencing. So if I'm angry and I think of myself as me being angry, what's within me, what resource within me can help me overcome the anger? If it's the whole of me that's angry, it's really difficult to let the anger subside because the whole of me is relating to that emotion. I am angry. But when I say a part of me is angry, I can recognize other parts within me that can support the angry part with the emotion that it's experiencing. So that's one of the main benefits that I've gained, which is to compartmentalize. It's not to suppress the emotion, but to say that it's not the whole of me that's experiencing this emotion. There's more to me than the emotion itself, and I can support the part that is experiencing that emotion. That's the one idea. One thing I love in general about internal family systems therapy, it's that it's based on consent and cooperation, collaboration with all parts of us. I know there are many ways of therapy, or even not forms of actual therapy, but advice that is spread within social media amongst friends that treats emotions as though they're our enemies. To say, if you're afraid, you need to fight against the fear. If you're angry, you need to suppress it and be composed and control your emotions. All of this is actually encouraging inner conflict. But with the internal family systems therapy model, it encourages collaboration, acceptance, understanding, support, these qualities that ensure that we cultivate inner harmony. And some people live with chronic conflict because they assume this is how life should be lived, this is how life needs to be lived. But from my experience and the experience of many other people, when an let's say unhelpful emotion arises, we do not antagonize the emotion. We don't say you shouldn't be experiencing this, it's wrong for you to experience this. We show understanding, acceptance that okay, this is what I'm experiencing right now, or a part of me is experiencing this. A part of me feels angry. Let me show support and acceptance and say, you have every right to be angry. Usually when you validate an emotion, you'll notice that it actually subsides. And this relationship between our parts, so the conversations we can be having within us, are very similar, and the relationships as well with the inner people of our lives, they're very similar to the relationships we have with other people. When somebody gets angry and you say there's no need to be upset, what tends to happen? The emotion gets amplified. Why? Because the person doesn't feel like their emotion and their perspective is validated. And with that, there's confrontation, and so the emotion gets amplified in order to be heard. But when you acknowledge the emotion, or you acknowledge the thought or the intention behind the emotion and say, I completely understand why you got angry. I'm sorry you're feeling this way, and I completely understand it. I want to support you. I want to listen. You'll notice that the person, whether external or internal, the person subsides because they feel like they're being heard. This applies to adults as well as children. Sometimes both of us, adults and children, we throw a tantrum, an emotional tantrum, but when we feel like we're being heard by those around us, we feel comfortable enough to engage in a reasonable conversation rather than getting emotionally charged. And this tends to apply to all emotions. So if you notice an emotion within you and you do not resist it, you show it understanding, you show it support, you show it love, you'll realize that it's much easier to deal with this emotion. One example I'll give is with procrastination. So if you notice yourself avoiding a task, you're not doing it, you feel apprehensive towards it, instead of saying, I need to do the work, I have to do the work, and being coercive, trying to force yourself to do the activity, ask yourself, spend just a minute, acknowledge the emotion and say, you know what? I know I'm avoiding this task. I don't feel comfortable with it. Okay, where's the discomfort coming from? Are you afraid of something? Yes, it could be fear of failure, fear of success. It could be perfectionism, so an element of fear of criticism, rejection, these kinds of emotions. Try to identify what is the root cause of the fear. It may not be fear, it may be frustration, it may be boredom, it may be confusion. What is the emotion that's getting you to avoid the task that you want or you feel like you need to do? And if it doesn't feel like a want, it feels like a must, it is a duty, an obligation, maybe that's adding to the heaviness you're experiencing towards the task because it's not aligned with what you want to do. But I tend to think that most issues where we feel like we have to do it, at least on some level, we want to do it for most of our commitments. So my recommendation would be to think, I don't have to do this task. I do not have to do it. But is there something within me that wants to do it? Is there a specific outcome I'm seeking from this task? It could be for you to save your job or for you to pursue an opportunity that you still have some emotions that are causing resistance. But at least you've tapped into a want within the need, or within a I want to, within the I have to. Okay, want to and have to aside, you want to, okay, I have to, I want to, I have to. I would like to get back to the point of how to deal with our emotions, and going back to the example of procrastinating. If you're procrastinating, try to identify the emotions that are getting in the way of you completing your task. Is it fear? What kind of fear? Is it confusion, uncertainty, and so on? And sometimes when you identify the emotion, it becomes very clear how to address it. So if it's uncertainty, for example, you're being apprehensive because the task feels uncertain. Is it uncertainty related to the outcome? You don't know what will happen when the task is completed? Or is it uncertainty related to performing the task itself? If it's related to performing the task, it means you're avoiding the task because you don't know how to do it, or you don't know how to do it well. So you might want to ask someone for advice, or you might want to look up a YouTube video or any other resource in order for you to feel comfortable completing the task. If it's fear, then one really important point about internal family systems therapy, or IFS therapy, IFS, is that every emotion has an underlying positive intention. So anger is trying to protect you in some way. Fear is also trying to protect you. All the emotions are intended to serve you, or the whole of you, or maybe parts of you, but it's playing a positive role, or it has a positive intention, even though it might be going about it in the wrong way. So you want to acknowledge the positive intention. Thank you, fear, for trying to protect me. Thank you, uncertainty, for helping me through this. Trying to identify and acknowledge and appreciate the positive intention, but then work with the emotion, or the part that's experiencing that emotion, in order for you to find a more helpful approach to whatever it is that the part is trying to protect you from. There's a lot more to internal family systems therapy, or IFS, but I'm not going to get into the details of it. I hope this video encourages you to look further into it. I've certainly found it extremely beneficial in dealing with my panic attacks. I've had a few. One was very intense, and I was rushed to hospital because I thought my heart was failing. But the thought of, I'm not panicking, a part of me is panicking, and I can show the part support, helped bring my heart rate down, and experienced calm, because I was able to not associate with the panic and recognize the resourcefulness that's available within me. So I highly encourage you to look into internal family systems therapy. There's a book by the same name, written by the founder of IFS. His name is Richard Schwartz. There's also a book, I believe, by the same author, called No Bad Parts. Both of them are great introductions to internal family systems therapy. And what I encourage you to do is not just look into the details of internal family systems, but also how can you start having conversations with yourself where you're not confrontational with any part of you, but you're seeking understanding, you're expressing compassion, you're showing support to all dimensions of you. And if this is a topic you're interested in, emotional management, healing, therapy, please let me know. I'm actually thinking of doing a course called Your Feelings Are Your Friends, which gives an introduction to internal family systems therapy, as well as some advice on how to approach or how to work with your emotions instead of fighting against them. Again, if that's something you're interested in, please let me know, and hopefully I'll be able to share more about the course I'm looking to create. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.